Brian Griffin is one of the most entertaining parts of Family Guy, for all the wrong reasons. Apart from his relationship with Stewie Griffin, he has no redeemable qualities, zero morality, and weak principles. And the worst part of it is that he's completely unaware that he has any flaws.
Is try to be nice to you and you still don't like me. How can you not like me? Okay, I'll tell you.
Safe to say, everybody knows that he is arrogant and insufferable, which is actually another video that I've made which analyses why he is that way. But this video is about the worst things that Brian Griffin has done, in my opinion. I have narrowed it down to 3 things across the entire 20 plus seasons of Family Guy. First up, we have what Brian did to Martha. Now, if you do not know what he did here, I would take a seat because this is absolute madness. And I can't believe that it's not a bigger talking point in the Family Guy fandom. This takes place in the season 16 episode, Peter 4, or Peter IV, depending on how you read it. And in this episode, Brian has been forced to leave his house in the previous episode due to the harassment he was getting from the public for his racist tweet online towards a Kevin Hart movie.
About to see the new Kevin Hart movie. Just kidding, I'm white and went to college.
Following this, he moves into a crummy apartment that he hates and has since started a job to be able to provide for himself. And in this job, he has a co-worker called Martha. And as if being forced to sit next to Brian as an attractive woman isn't torture enough, he asks her out. She, of course, says no, and what he does next is nothing short of psychotic. So after Martha rejects Brian, he decides to pleasure himself to photographs of her in the workplace, just out in the open at his desk.
Well, nothing says I can't date her up here.
And what photo does he choose, you ask? A photo of Martha and her mum crying at a funeral. Now, I don't know why that photo is uploaded to a Facebook page, but that is not the point. Later in the episode, he tells his landlord about what he has done, and he gets some horrendous advice that for some reason Brian listens to.
She's gonna report me and I'm gonna get fired. What can I do?
Do what I do when people don't pay their rent. Plant drugs and call the cops.
The next day, he carries out his plan to frame Martha by planting drugs in her office drawer, just so that she can't get him fired from the job that he has worked at for one day. However, the plan goes horribly wrong, as if it wasn't a dreadful plan to begin with, when Martha decides to forgive Brian. Now, we do get a bit of vindication for Martha here because Brian is pushed down a flight of stairs and breaks his leg, but honestly, that is the least he deserved in that situation, if you ask me. Next up is a storyline that I don't even know how the writers thought of. This is Brian's blood pact. This storyline takes place in the season 12 episode, Herpy the Love Sore, where Brian gives Stewie, the 1-year-old, an STD. Now, if you've not seen this episode or heard of it before, just a warning that nothing happens between Brian and Stewie that would typically be a common way of spreading an STD, if you get what I'm saying. But instead, he spreads this STD through a blood pact. In this episode, while Brian is watching television, Stewie arrives to see blood brothers. Brian explains to him what a blood pact is and how it's done, and from this, Stewie insists on trying it with Brian.
Well, it's an ancient ritual where 2 friends intermingle their blood, thus sealing a bond even deeper than friendship.
He agrees, and they share their blood. Then the next day, Stewie wakes up to find that he has herpes. Immediately, he thinks that the cause must be because he shared blood with Brian, so he goes to confront him.
You son of a bitch! You gave me herpes!
What are you talking about?
When we swapped blood! Look at my lip! It's a disgusting herpes sore!
Brian then completely denies that it was him that spread it.
Look, it can't be my fault, Stewie. I don't even have herpes.
Oh, yeah? Let me see.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop it!
However, later in the episode, it is confirmed that it was Brian who spread it because Chris tells Stewie that he also got herpes from Brian. Spreading an STD to 2 kids, I don't even know what else to say about that.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to let you know you're not alone.
Oh, yeah? How so? Good Lord, you've got herpes too?
Not only that, but I also got it from Brian. We're blood brothers too.
You are?
Yup, he knew he had herpes and he didn't say anything. Maybe he was mad I gave him fleas, I don't know.
There is no explanation needed here as to why this is a bad thing. This is just a bad thing. With zero justification later in the episode, by the way. Later in the episode, Stewie does confront Brian on a more personal level.
I realized I couldn't trust you. I couldn't trust my own best friend.
And Brian does apologise, insisting that he'll never do it again and he'll never lie to Stewie again. But that doesn't change the fact that he still gave 2 children STDs. Needless to say, this one speaks for itself. I think this one has made its way onto this list quite justifiably. Now, because Brian Griffin is such a horrible person who commits so many heinous acts, it was very difficult to narrow it down to just 3. So therefore, I decided to gather some honourable mentions that are for their own separate reasons, not the 3rd place on this list. Some are just passed off as gags and cutaway scenes, so it's hard to distinguish whether or not they are canon to the storyline or just throwaway jokes. Now, it was difficult to choose between Brian attacking Lois and what I actually ended up choosing for my final selection. However, when it comes to Brian attacking Lois, I have already done another video discussing this, and in the show it is written off as a way for Brian to develop, which personally I don't think makes it any better, but at least that one has a conclusion of some sort, whereas this final one is nothing but complete greed and selfishness. Therefore, my final choice was Brian's brief infatuation with Miss Emily. This takes place in the season 10 episode Be Careful What You Fish For. And in this episode, Stewie is at a new daycare run by a woman called Miss Emily. However, Miss Emily is extremely incompetent and does nothing but endanger the children. When Brian learns of the lack of care that these children are under, he decides to confront Miss Emily.
Excuse me, are you Miss Emily?
Yeah, hi. Who are you?
Brian. Brian Steele.
Is anybody shocked by this? This leads Brian down a path where he is pursuing Miss Emily to try and sleep with her at the expense of Stewie and a bunch of other innocent babies being beaten, abused, screamed at and kidnapped. I think the storyline is really well summed up by this one clip.
Mom! You are not going anywhere. I finally have a date with Miss Emily tomorrow, and I'm not going to let you or anybody else get in my way until I have seen every inch of her naked. Relax, I'm going to pop it back in.
Brian then arrives at the daycare the next day, ready for his date with Miss Emily. However, when it is revealed that Miss Emily has a boyfriend and only sees Brian as a friend, then, and only then, does Brian call the police. Not so he can do what's right, but as revenge on Miss Emily. So there it is. Those are my choices for what I believe are the worst things that Brian Griffin has ever done. I had a lot of fun making this video, and honestly, I was spoiled by choice. This is a psychotic character, but he's fun to talk about, so at least there's that. Thank you to anybody who's watching who's made it to this part of the video. I really appreciate it. If you have seen any of my previous videos before, first off, thank you. But you may have noticed that my editing style has changed. That is because I switched from CapCut to Adobe After Effects. Adobe After Effects is what I actually use generally. I had never used CapCut before I started this channel, but it was just more convenient because my laptop is so old and so laggy. But I wanted to improve the quality of my videos, and I thought that would be a good place to start. You may notice that some of these clips have flickering and cut out a little bit. I don't know why that is. I don't know how to get that issue solved, but I will get it figured out by my next video, hopefully. So yes. I know this wasn't an analytical video, you know, it wasn't very deep, but I had a lot of fun making it. To be honest, this was a video I was trying to get out super quickly and ended up taking the longest out of any of my videos. I just really wanted to focus on improving the editing. Last week I said that I wanted to get, that I had a 20 subscriber goal, and now I've got 22 subscribers. Woo! Thank you very much to anyone who subscribed and anyone who's commented or liked any of my videos. I really appreciate it. It's nice to be able to talk to people about these things because I love Family Guy and I love talking about Family Guy like on a really deep level, and obviously nobody in my life is willing to just sit down and listen to me ramble about Family Guy for ages. So it's just so much fun to actually talk to other people and like hear their opinions as well. I now have a different subscriber goal. So my goal is by my next upload, I'd like to have 30 subscribers. So if you want to help at all and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. But there's no pressure at all. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Bye.